Hello besties, and welcome back to another video. We're gonna have to excuse my voice today because I am dealing with the plague that Sophia had at North American. We're deeming this the North American plague. No, really I feel fine. I'm just a little tired. So we're taking a rest day today, and obviously my voice sounds like this. But today is gonna be a little bit of a different video. We don't have a vlog here, and I'm just like sitting here comfy on the couch because we are going to debrief prep. We're gonna talk about this reverse, and we are going to get into off-season plans and that kind of thing. I have a brew here. Look at this cutie glass. It's a 20-ounce giant glass mug, Amazon, in my storefront. This is a decaf brew because have I already had my 2 brews for the day? Yes. This is the decaf marshmallow grounds that I got from Fresh Market that we were sipping on in North Americans. Oh my God, you guys. So good as a brew. I just did some of the normal like sweet cream Chobani in it, Trader Joe's liquid stevia obviously, and then I did the hazelnut sweet drops in it. Yeah, really good, giving me the illusion that I'm having a cold brew. Oh, it's so good. But anyways, I cannot believe we are done with prep. It has been a week and a half since the show, so it's currently September 10th. I'm gonna try to get this video up to you guys like literally as soon as I possibly can because I feel bad. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't talked to you guys in forever. I haven't picked up the vlog since North Americans, since that Sunday. So I'm like, I've gone through withdrawals of the vlog. I've just been like trying to adjust to life now that I'm not in prep anymore, and you know, getting back from the show and everything. Obviously I had to get back to work, and so that was difficult. So I was really just like trying to get everything together there. Then I had to work this last weekend, and you know, with not feeling great, I was just trying to exist. So here I am hopping back, and now we're gonna debrief. First thing I want to say is this first prep experience was just so special in every way. Honestly, it flew by. Up until my first show, I feel like everything was honestly pretty smooth sailing for the most part, and I just felt like really excited to get to the show. And my first show experience was just so special. Like, I had such a great time, and I left that weekend just feeling like, oh my God, I love this. You know, when it's your first prep and you've never competed before, there is that little fear of like, am I even gonna enjoy the stage? Am I even gonna enjoy the act of actually competing? Because I think so many people get into bodybuilding and they don't realize that there is a performance aspect to it. Like, you are going to be stepping on stage, you are going to be in front of a crowd. Can you handle that? Can you handle stage presence? Can you handle doing these kinds of things? Are you gonna like that? I think people just kind of look at like the glitz and the glamour of it, but they really struggle with the actual performing. And so I was so happy that I just loved being on stage, and I had such a good time on show day. I really left that first show being like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I do love competing. So that made me really happy to know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is right for me because prep is a lot of work, and you don't want to go through, you know, I think I had about 16 weeks up until my first show, and you don't want to go through all that just to find that you don't even really like it that much. So that was really cool to see that I do indeed enjoy this. So taking it all the way back. So obviously I didn't start really documenting my prep super heavily until I was literally like 3.5 weeks out. So you guys don't even know me. You don't even know what we started at, what we came from, none of this. So let me just go all the way back for you guys, give you guys some backstory on me, on my journey as a fitness person in general. So I didn't grow up like playing sports or anything. I was a horse girly growing up. So I did like pony club. I competed in like show jumping, eventing, dressage, like the English side of things. So I did that all growing up. And then in middle school, high school, I did cheerleading, a little bit of competitive cheerleading here and there. But something that I have always just been drawn to the gym, even as like a kid. I don't know. I like loved the gym. I thought that people who did gym stuff were so cool. He just fell. He literally fell and he was holding himself in between the window and the couch. I'm so dead. Anyways, I thought that people who were into the gym and fitness were such cool people, and I was like, I want to do that. So in high school, once I got my license, I started going to like the local gym with my boyfriend because, you know, he had always like grown up doing sports and everything. So, and you know how guys are, right? So I started kind of going because he would go, and I would like do the elliptical, I would do like some machines, and it was like your typical like, oh, I just want a flat stomach, I want to be skinny type of thing, right? But I was always like badgering him about teaching me how to do free weights. Like I always wanted to know how to do like squat, bench, deadlift. But I obviously, as a girl in the gym who didn't really know anything, I was too nervous to just like go do it myself. And like I really wanted him to teach me. But he was always like there with his friends and stuff. So like we never really got the opportunity. But I kept up with the gym. I was going like probably like 4 times a week. And I would do like the machines. I would do abs, arms, legs, like whatever. And so I did that all the way up until COVID hit in 2020. Obviously the gyms closed, so I kept working out at home. I would do HIIT videos on YouTube, and that's just kind of what I did to get movement in, and I would still do that like 4 or 5 times a week. And then when I got to college in fall of 2020, I started to get into free weights, and I learned how to do like squat, bench, deadlift, and I was following like a very powerlifting-y type of split, going to the gym 5 days a week, but I wasn't like tracking my food. Not to say that I ate like terribly or anything, but I mean, it was giving caramel frappuccino, extra caramel drizzle on top, going to Cold Stone, going to Moe's, Chipotle, she's going to Texas Roadhouse, she's sugar, she's eating out Bojangles, Taco Bell. You know how it is, right? You get your own money, you get your own car, you start eating more poorly. So I was never really like super happy with my body. I always had a pretty good like muscular foundation. Even as like a child, I had like quads and triceps, so I was like putting on muscle, but we were fluffy, right? So I was doing all this lifting, really into just like powerlifting, that kind of thing. I loved feeling strong, so we just kind of kept leaning into that. I would say, I think it was like February of 2022 was when I was kind of like, I'm tired of hating my body and like I want to do something about it. So I started my expedition, the journey of tracking macros, and I just did one of those like macro calculators. I started tracking based on that, and I saw great results. I think I probably dropped like 10-ish pounds just by like, I cut out full sugar sodas, and then obviously I was tracking like everything I was eating, stopped going out to eat unless I could like track it in type of thing, and I like just went all in on tracking and being clean with everything and drinking a lot of water and all of that stuff. And I like actually felt really happy with the progress I was making, and I was still doing like powerlifting stuff. I had somebody at the time who was like writing a program for me because he was like in the master's program at my college. We were still just doing like strength blocks and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we ended up doing a hypertrophy block at one point, and this was kind of my first introduction into like training to failure and really training to put on size. And that, coupled with the nutrition aspect and like keeping all of that in check, I kind of started to realize that I really liked that style of training better than powerlifting and just doing like 1 rep max type things. You know, it is a very different way of training when you go from powerlifting to bodybuilding. And I think around the same time, I started following more like bodybuilders on social media and just kind of following their journey. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I really align with their values and their just outlook on honestly life in general. Because when you're somebody who's in the gym and it's a really big hobby of yours, it does shape your viewpoints around life and perspective and privilege and all of these things. And I'm like, wow, I really fuck with them. And I actually resonate more with like bodybuilding and that lifestyle than I do with people who powerlift. And like, I don't really resonate with that. And I actually don't even think that's something I want to do competitively. I did compete into like powerlifting meets just at my college, but I don't know, they were fun and I had a great time at them, but it was never something I wanted to do USAPL or really make a big thing for myself, because I feel like, yes, with powerlifting, obviously you can work really, really hard and you can get stronger, but I didn't feel like genetically gifted, because I just feel like there are these genetic freaks in powerlifting. And to be fair, there are these genetic freaks in bodybuilding too. Let's not forget, it is a major game of genetics, but I just felt my talents lied more so in my physique than they did my strength, for sure, because I knew I had a really good, solid foundation of muscle. And I'm like, I think I want to do bodybuilding. And, you know, I started having these feelings and I'm like, I really wish I could hire a coach, but, you know, I was in my sophomore year of college. I don't have the money to hire a coach. So I just kind of did the hypertrophy thing for a while. And then fast forward to 2024. So I obviously was still in college at this point. I was like pretty much just like self-coaching myself. I knew for a fact as soon as I graduated college that I wanted to hire a bodybuilding coach and I wanted to do this. So in July of 2024, so it was summertime, I was working as a CNA between semesters at college. And I was like, you know, I've got some more money because I'm working at the hospital and everything. I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna find a way to make this shit work when I'm in semester and I can't work as much. I want to do this. I'm gonna hire a coach. So I inquired with Sophia and we started working together in July of 2024. We just surpassed our 1 year anniversary of working together. So I'm very much still a baby in real bodybuilding stuff, but I've been in the gym and like working out and doing this since like 2018. So yeah, I started working with Sophia. We did kind of like a recomp moment when we started working together and then went into a cut and I ended up losing, I don't know, 12-ish pounds, I think, in my first cut. We reversed out of the cut and then did a growing season. I would say really from like December up until I started prep in April. So that kind of brings us to a more present time. I started pre-prep because we go through a pre-prep phase where you kind of like clean stuff up and then we start prep. So my pre-prep phase was March 18th and I started that at 142.6 pounds that morning. So I was probably sitting anywhere between like 142 to like 145 at the height of my off season. Off season, my food got super high. I was on like 300 and something carb. So we started doing a carb cycle leading up until prep to kind of prime my metabolism. And it was a 3-to-1. So 3 low days at 250 carb and 1 high day at 550 carb. So we ran that for, I want to say probably like 6 weeks maybe. I was doing that up until pre-prep. And then the only thing that changed in pre-prep was like I no longer was taking free meals. And I think that was literally it. We might have brought the carbs down by like maybe 10 grams, but it was really just to kind of like hone in on some other variables and that kind of thing. So I officially started prep April 4th. Weight at that point was 140.6. So I started prep, no cardio, and I was still on that carb cycle, 3 low days, 1 high day at 210 carb, and then 430 carb was my high day. I ran that carb cycle for maybe the first 2 weeks of prep, and then we just went to like training day, rest day macros, which was so much better because if you have carb cycled before, you know that the metabolism do be metabolisming and you're a little bit hungrier for sure. I am blessed enough to have a nice metabolism where my food doesn't really have to get super low and my body can handle a lot of food. So for the majority of my beginnings of prep, my food was still pretty high and I was at very low cardio. So the plan was for a 16-week prep for my regional show and a 21-week prep for my national show. So like I said, I started around 140 and we figured I'd probably have to lose like 12-ish pounds. I ended up losing for my regional show more like 15, 16 pounds. And then for the national show, I lost 20 pounds total. For our prep, that is very minimal. There's people who have 50-pound preps. I didn't have a ton of weight to lose. Luckily, I was like relatively lean starting at the beginning of prep. We were obviously just gonna do a nice slow progression as you do, right? In prep. Well, halfway through prepping for the regional show, I went out and I saw my coach in Houston and we got to talking about show plans and all that stuff. Basically, she was like, look, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we start to push. I had lost like 7 pounds at this point. I think I was down to like 133. Let's bring you in early and let's do like a mock peak week situation. I want to like play around with peaks with you and I want to see how we can do the best look. I think we should get ready. We should get aggressive. What do you think? And I said, absolutely. Let's do it. So at 8 weeks out, my cardio changed from 5 5 by 30 fasted when able, above 200 carb to well under 200 carb, and 7 by 45 minutes of fasted cardio, which obviously for some people this is like not aggressive, but to flip that switch literally overnight of like prep not feeling like prep to prep really feeling like prep, I was so excited. Obviously with working at the hospital and everything, I was very busy. I had a very busy schedule now. So within 2 weeks, I had lost about 6 pounds. So we did at 6 weeks out a mock peak week. She had wanted to do something where we kind of played with like a fat loading phase to see if hopefully it could make it so that I didn't have to have as many carbs to carb up. Well, we ended up not loving that, but whatever. It was cool. It gave us like a diet break at 6 weeks out, and then we were able to resume protocol and all that stuff and still like keep dropping weight after that fact. My lowest low before my regional show was 124, and I stepped on stage around like 128, 129. First show was July 26th. It was that Dexter Jackson Classic in Florida. We had so much fun. Oh my God, it was such a small show, but like the vibes were literally so good. We met so many people there. Like I really did have the best time at that show, and it was like the perfect first show experience. I had 5 weeks in between the Dexter Jackson show and North Americans, and Soph told me that the point in between shows was going to be the hardest part of my prep, but she was not joking. It was 1,000% the hardest part of prep. Not only was it difficult just because you're already stage lean and you go from peak week where you're like not training, cardio is lower, you have more food, having that break and having all that, and then you have to go back into dieting and you have to get leaner. But also I knew it was going to be difficult because that's when I would be flipping permanently to night shift as a nurse, and so I hadn't needed to navigate prep in night shift except for a couple weeks at the very, very, very beginning of prep. So I was like, well, we're gonna see how this goes, because I literally flipped to nights the week right after Dexter Jackson. Like my first shift back after the Dexter Jackson show was a night shift. So I knew it was going to be difficult, and it was insanely difficult. Just the wear and tear that work put on my body and night shift and dieting further for the show. I was exhausted for sure, but like just so excited. That's like all I can say is like, yes, I was exhausted, but oh my gosh, the feeling that you get once you make it to the show, you're like, it's all worth it. Every bit of it is worth it. All of the exhaustion, all of the fatigue, all of the irritability, like it's all worth it. So I was so excited for North Americans, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, Emily, just cross off the days, one foot in front of the other, get through today and then get through tomorrow and then get through the next day. You can't think about, oh my God, I have 10 more shifts left. Like, no, just get through today. So it was very much just getting through it one day at a time. And so my lowest low before North Americans was 120.5. So I lost an additional 4 pounds, which, if you know, these are like the hardest pounds to lose, are the pounds that you lose when you're already pretty lean. So then, yeah, we got to North Americans. That was August 30th, and actually had some trouble with that peak week. The first peak week actually went super smooth. We ended up just doing like a traditional depletion and carb up for that one. I think my highest my food got was like 4 something carb, not anything crazy. We did end up having to feed me more than Soph thought during the first show. It was giving very much staying up until midnight, 1 o'clock eating, but nothing crazy. This peak week leading up until North Americans, unfortunately there was an imbalance between sodium and potassium because some of the sources that we had pulled that we thought were like kind of digestively messing me up had more potassium in them. And so anyway, there was an imbalance in that, and I was like eating all these carbs, and it was just like going to my stomach and not going to my muscle bellies, and we're like, what is happening? And I'm pushing like 600, 700, 800 carb, and it's like, why do I still look flat as a pancake? So we finally figured that out at the 2-day out mark, ate a banana, and I said, oh, I can literally feel my muscles filling out as we sit here. So that definitely affected my confidence going into North Americans, just because, you know, things weren't as smooth, and it just made me feel a little less ready because of how things had gone. And I already felt like I had no idea what I looked like. And so that made it even harder. Because if you know, during peak week and you're checking in after a full day of water and a full day of eating and you feel like a beached whale and you already don't know what you look like because prep goggles and everything, it's like, oh my God, I actually want to die. I want to die. I look pregnant and you mean to tell me I need to step on stage in 2 days? But that is why I pay Soph and I don't self-coach. This is her job to make decisions about my body, not me. And we are so proud with the look that we brought to North Americans. Oh my God, the hair, the makeup, the suit, the tan, everything. It just came together so beautifully. I actually stepped on stage at the same weight for North Americans, even though I was 4 pounds lighter, just because of the sheer amount of food I had to eat in order to fill out, because we really thought I was gonna have to eat less because I was so much leaner, but then all that happened and I ended up having to eat more. So I actually stepped on stage the same weight, like 128. At Dexter Jackson, we took the overall. At North Americans, we got center of second call outs. So that was 7th out of 15, which I feel so proud of, because you know what? It is not dead last, baby. And even if it was dead last, that's okay. When I say I had zero expectations for this show, I genuinely mean it. I am a baby in this sport and I know I have so much potential and I know it's only up from here. We really just wanted to step on a national stage, to do it for the first time, to get the stage time, to get the experience, and to get the feedback, most importantly. So feeling really proud of myself for center of second call outs. And so obviously we got our feedback at North Americans and it was literally just to grow. Everything else was great. They said the peak was great. They said suit, everything with the look was great. It's just that I was a little too balanced from top to bottom, so we needed more lower body mass, which is what we knew going in. We knew that we needed to grow, but hearing that and hearing, you know, that it wasn't something else that like could have been fixed, it's good to know, right? Because growing is literally the best feedback you could actually ask for, because love off season. We know how to grow, we know how to eat, we know how to train. Let's go do it. So leaving North Americans, I was ready to be done with prep, really ready to be done with prep, and just feeling so excited to grow. I, towards that tail end of prep, felt well and still feel very small, and honestly lost a lot of confidence in my package. I'm just gonna be so for real. I just felt unhappy. I felt unhappy with my size and just telling myself like I never ever want to feel this small ever again, and I won't, because this is quite literally the smallest I will ever be. But I don't ever want to be 120 pounds again. Next time I step on stage, I would like to be heavier for sure. I want to feel really confident in the package that we're bringing, especially to a national stage. So kind of brings us to reversing now. Right now I'm sitting at about like 127, 128 pounds. So still where I was like show morning. I'm kind of maintaining. My look is just different. I think my legs still look pretty lean, but you know, the abs were the first thing to go, which is so unfortunate. But I really don't care. I was unhappy with my body, like I said, at the tail end of prep, even though I was like shredded, and I don't want to feel small. So I literally do not care if I look like a mammoth. I don't care how quick the body fat comes on. I don't care how quick the scale goes up. Like, I understand that bodybuilding is full of phases and every phase is important in its own way. And in order to grow, I'm gonna have to put body fat on. And my value does not lie in the leanest, most cut version of myself. And to me, I would much rather be happy and have energy and love the gym and love lifting than be super shredded and depleted and irritable and tired. You know what I mean? Like, the abs are not worth it. So whatever. Does my physique look a little different already? Yeah. And I'm happy with it. Bodybuilding has really like healed my relationship with my body, and just understanding that every phase is important in its own right. Whether you are peak bulk and you're fluffy, or you're peak prep and you're super shredded, or you're maintaining, or whatever, like every phase has a purpose and your body is always changing and always fluctuating. So who cares? There's no point in getting like super attached to one look and super attached to one physique, because 3 weeks from now it's going to be different. So just focus on your inner worth, focus on other things other than your physique, other than the scale. How do you feel? How are you performing in the gym? How's your balance with your regular life and your relationships? I'm happy now that I can go and I can have a dinner with my boyfriend, or I can go to Starbucks and I can get the pumpkin cream cold brew and I can enjoy enjoy it, and I have the energy to go see my friends and talk to my friends and see my family, and these are all things that are super important. And there's a time and a place to lock in and a time to like chase your goals 100%, and that's prep, and there's no balance in prep, and that's how prep is. And I love that in its own way, but I'm so happy to be getting my life back and feeling like myself again. A little coffee break. So, speaking of the reverse, we have mapped out like an 8-week plan for the reverse thus far. So I'm already a week into the reverse, actually. It started the Tuesday after the show. So, after the show, we went out, post-show dinner Saturday night. Sunday, I let be my fuck off day. I wasn't an asshole, but like I wasn't saying no to things. And then Monday after the show, I like loosely macro tracked. And then Tuesday, we were back on plan and I got my macros and everything. But for that first week, so Tuesday after the show till this past Tuesday, I didn't do any free meals or anything just because like I had just indulged to the end of time, show weekend and all that. So we just kind of wanted to get my body back to a baseline and kind of see where we were at post show. Been on plan for a week. There's 3 different areas that we're kind of focusing on during this reverse. It's going to be mental, hormones, and physique. So mentally, this is going to be like establishing control over food again, learning how to love your softer body, and also like finding that balance again between life and bodybuilding, because like I said, in prep there is no balance. And so kind of reestablishing that balance and finding your new normal can be hard. And I definitely, for the first couple days, was like feeling a little lost. I'm like, what is this? I don't have cardio every day. I don't have all these like weird obligations, and I don't know. You like don't know what to do with all your freedom. So that's the mental side of things. Hormones, after this 8-week period, we're going to pull lab work and see what we are working with hormonally. Obviously, prep is not healthy and it depletes your hormones, screws with your lab work. So we're going to use this 8-week period to hopefully get some things back to normal. And that way we can just kind of see like what we're working with. And obviously our ultimate goal is to get my period back. So I actually have not had a period like 2 years. After coming off of birth control, I just never got her back. So that's going to be like a big goal for us, is to get my period back. And then physique wise, during this period, we still want to maintain relative leanness, especially in my legs, hoping to like maintain tie-ins through this 8-week period. We want to grow my lower body, obviously, and we want to atrophy my triceps because they're a little too big, and just maintain upper body, no growing. For this 8-week phase, my food is going to continue increasing every week. I already don't have any cardio in my plan right now, just like 8 to 10K steps, and I get 1 free meal a week and 1 intuitive eating day a week, which I'm excited about. I already kind of did an intuitive eating day that Monday after the show, and I was really surprised that I was not struggling with food noise. I'm not struggling with feeling super hungry or anything like that. I feel like I have a really good grasp on my relationship with food, which is something I was really worried about. But I feel like mentally I'm just in a good place there. So I'm glad that I have those in my plan just to give me the freedom to have fun with cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I love to cook, and just like playing around with some macro friendly recipes and stuff. Like this would be so fun. But the plan is to gain roughly 5 to 6 pounds during this period from the morning of show. So morning of show I was 128.5. So hoping to be around like the 134-ish mark by the end of this 8 weeks, but we're really going off of a look, not the scale. Anyway, the scale is just a tool, but definitely just focusing more on a look. As for growing plans, we're probably going to get my food up to like 300 carb pretty quickly, just because like I said, I am lucky enough to have a pretty good metabolism. And really, we're just going to be doing like growing phases and health phases and recomp phases on repeat until we prep the next time. So we really want to try to maintain like a relative level of leanness throughout all of this, because that's going to make prep a whole lot easier. But we don't have any set plans for competing in the future as far as like next year goes or anything like that. Everything is kind of just TBD on the reverse, how much size we're putting on, how quickly, that kind of thing. I've gotten a couple questions like if I'm doing North Americans next year, and I honestly don't know. It really just depends on how how much mass we can put on. I just don't want to compete again until I feel like I'm bringing a very competitive physique to the national stage, and I am never going to regret taking a longer off season than I quote need or whatever. So I would probably anticipate that at the earliest I will compete late 2026 earliest. I would like to have a full year of growing before I compete the next time. I know we've got a really solid foundation. I know we do have a lot of potential here, but again, like I want to feel really good about my package. I want to put on a solid amount of tissue, and there's just no substitute for time. You can't rush muscle maturity either. Like, these are all factors. So I don't know, we're just gonna kind of see what we can put on in the next year. But obviously as time goes on, you know, we'll kind of be talking about it, throwing out some plans here and there. So obviously I'll keep you guys up to date on just kind of like what we're thinking. But for now, it is Operation Grow, Grow, Grow everywhere. Now that I have completely yapped your ear off about this prep, hopefully that was somewhat interesting. I asked you guys to ask me like some questions, or if there was anything curious, anything you wanted to like know about, post-show, reverse, prep, all of the things. So we're gonna get into the little Q&A section and I can just answer some of your questions. So, okay, something on show day that turned out to not at all be as you expected. I did not expect to not feel ready to compete until after stepping off stage. And I hope that verbiage makes sense. But what I mean is, I did not feel like I looked ready to step on stage until after prejudging at my first show. And after we left the venue and Soph turned around and she showed me a picture of me on stage, and I was like, oh, I do look good. That was the first point in prep that I was like, wow, you do look like you've been prepping and like you're stage ready. So that is my advice to anybody who is competing for the very first time is, yeah, you're probably not gonna feel ready until you have already gone on stage. But then it's fun because then you come back for finals and you're like, okay, let's do this. Like, I feel good. I feel confident in my package. So that is one thing I did not expect. I expected to like get to peak week and feel ready, and I didn't. It's not till like you have the tan, you have the suit, you have the hair, the makeup, you're on stage, because the stage lights make a difference, where I feel like you really truly feel ready. Meal plan versus macros and off season. I am a macros girly. I loved the meal plan for prep because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of things for your coach, and it just makes it easy. You're eating the same thing all the time. But I got really tired of it, and sometimes it's more of a nuisance because it's so nice to just do like a quick little macro swap when you're on macros, but you can't do that in prep. So I knew immediately once I entered off season I would be going back on macros so that I can have my hummus fit back. So we're on macros. Oh my god, how's my caffeine tolerance? Y'all know me and those 2 cold brews a day. Yeah, no, it's wrecked. It's actually wrecked. The last 2 days, I had 3 cold brews. This was decaf. I only had 2 today. I was good, but it's wrecked because I can drink a cold brew and I can lay down for a nap. So there's that. One of these questions is, what was a high of prep and what was like a low of prep? Definitely, I gotta say, the high was my first show. I had so much fun. I really did have so much fun that weekend. And it was just kind of like a reminder of why you do this. And I mean, just like the outpouring of love and the amount of support was just like beyond anything I could ever have imagined. And the amount of people that told me like what an inspiration I was for them and how much I've helped them in their preps, and how seeing me go through this and do this has helped them realize they can do it. I just like, I had no idea. So that was crazy, and definitely probably the highlight of my whole entire prep, honestly. As far as the lows, like I said earlier, definitely in between shows and just feeling like dead inside, a shell of myself, and then having to go to work for 12 hours and like put on my thinking cap, and like I'm like, I don't even have the energy at home to like put my own laundry up, and now I have to go to work and I have to take care of patients that are literally dying. I have to use my brain and I have to like be physical and active. Like it was really difficult, and definitely like a low point for me because you don't truly get it unless you've been through it. And so it was hard because I felt like there was nobody I could really turn to for advice. advice, but I just knew going through that was going to make me stronger mentally, physically, emotionally. And I love a challenge. So I said, you know what, Emily, it's going to be okay. It's all going to be worth it. You got this. And we made it out. And I'm so proud of myself for getting through some of those like really tough days at work, especially. Ooh, my favorite part of my season. And then do I have any regrets from my shows? I feel like I've been asked if there's anything I would go back and change, and honestly, like there is not a single thing that I would change about this prep, about how I went about this prep. Like I truly gave it my 110% and did everything to the best of my ability. Like there is not a single thing I would change about this prep. I made sure to be really present on show day. I had a blast on show day. I just love the energy. I love being backstage with all the girls. Like it was perfect. Like I said, like with North Americans and everything, and like the peak, and I guess I would change that if I could go back and we could fix the potassium thing earlier. I think that would have probably helped my confidence to just like not have had that little bit of stress with like me not filling out. But other than that, there is like nothing I can think about that I would change about my shows or anything. Weight gain is on here, like, you know, how I feel about that. Like I said, I actually don't really care. And it's also one of those things too, like during this 8-week period, if I quote gain too much, we'll just do a mini cut before we start to grow. Because that's the thing, like it's not like once body fat comes on your body, you can't get rid of it. If I get fat, I get fat, and we just drop food and increase cardio. So that's why I'm not worried about it. The thing I am not looking forward to is my face getting chunkier again. I'm not gonna lie, I love a diet face. But other than that, I really don't care about anything else, to be honest. Oh my god, my all-time favorite brew I've made. The one that's like standing out to me is, oh my god, those grounds that Lena got me in Jacksonville that were hazelnut flavored. I was obsessed with that cold brew. I was really obsessed with the cold brew I made from those hazelnut grounds. So that's I think gonna have been my favorite. What are you most excited to get back into since you have more time in your hands? Definitely really excited to get back into like cooking in a fun way, because like I said, I love cooking, and you know, me and the Great British Baking Show are like this. I love the Great British Baking Show, and I love a macro-friendly cook moment. So I'm really excited to be able to get back into that. And then obviously just like getting back into hanging out with people and like being social. Really excited for that. Oh my god, death row meal. I'm sorry, but it's gotta be a cream of rice and oat combo with like nut butter and blueberries. That shit slaps so hard, because when you mix the oats with the cream of rice, the texture is like perfection, and the cooking process is so much more forgiving. I actually can't even. It's so good. With some birthday cake whey. Yeah, that's gonna be death row real for me for sure. Oh my god, pros and cons of competing and working full time. I'm gonna be honest, what's the pro? I wish I didn't have to work full time. Being off for my shows where I had like 2 weeks off was so incredibly nice, actually. And I'm just gonna be so transparent about it. Wish I didn't have to work. You have to make a living, right? So we have to work. But I think, no, a pro though is it really teaches you time management, and it teaches you to be so grateful, because people just have no idea how easy they have it, and they take for granted so many things in life. And when you're busy and you have a lot on your plate, like you are just so much more grateful for things in life, and it really teaches you how to overcome obstacles and to just go with the flow. And I think I was really truly able to just have no thoughts because I was so busy. So I guess those are pros. Obviously the cons, I'm gonna say in the context of working in the hospital, the stress that it was putting on my body to work, and the inflammation and lack of sleep and that kind of stuff definitely doesn't help. And also just having an unpredictable schedule, because you know, I don't work the same days every week, so that makes it hard to like navigate what my workout split's gonna be, and just things aren't as predictable. But yeah, you just gotta kind of make it work, and that's just the name of the game. It helps you be a more adaptive person, and I think really teaches you like conflict management, which is invaluable in my opinion. Okay, how I schedule my meals for night shift. So obviously this is not like a prep specific question, because I still have to do this. So when I'm gonna be on for 3, I'm gonna structure it this way. Before I go in for my first shift, so say I'm working Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, right? Going in for my first shift Friday night at 7 p.m. I'm gonna wake up normal time Friday morning, 5 a.m. or whenever I wake up. I'm gonna have my pre-workout meal Friday morning at some point, and I'm gonna train Friday morning. I'm gonna eat my post-workout meal 2, and then I'm going to to lay down for my pre-work nap by like 12 or 1 p.m. So I do that, and then I sleep until like 5 p.m., get up, I get ready for work, and I leave for work at 6 p.m. And then I don't eat meal 3 until I have already been at work for like an hour. So usually like 8 p.m. I'm eating meal 3. Then around like midnight, 1 a.m. is when I'll eat meal 4. And then I try to have my last meal in at work by like 4 or 5 a.m. And then I just don't eat again. And I go home, I go straight to bed. When I get home from work, usually it's like 8 a.m. And I usually sleep until like 2 or 3 p.m. Typically my second night of work, I hit my upper body day, which I don't eat before because I told y'all the upper does not need to grow. Listen, do as I say, not as I do. Do not train fasted. That's what I do, okay? I'll hit my quick upper day, do my cardio or whatever in prep, of course. Come home, shower and everything, leave for work, and I eat meal 1 in the parking deck at work, and then I stay on like a 3-hour meal time at work from that point on because now I'm fully flipped to night shift. So I'll have eaten at 6 p.m., then I eat at 9 p.m., 12 a.m., 3 a.m., and then like 5 a.m., and then I don't eat again. So it's all 5 of my meals. Then I do the same thing for shift 3 out of 3, try to finish all my meals by 5 a.m., and then come home immediately, sleep. And the thing that sucks is on my flip back days. So if I have worked through the weekend, that means I got off Monday morning. I come home and I usually sleep until about noon. So I only sleep for like 4 hours. And then I'm just up from noon till about 9 or 10 p.m. So I only have like a 9-hour time frame where I'm eating. So I eat all of my meals in that time frame. And now I'm fully flipped back so that on Tuesday, I wake up at my normal time and I have my normal day. Very long-winded. Hope you guys kept up with that one because it's a lot of explaining. But that's just what I do. It's what works for me. And I think that's something that people are really worried about when they think about bodybuilding and they think night shift is like the meal timing. And so I will say, for example, that Monday morning when I wake up at noon, that's considered my morning, right? That's when I take my weigh-in. My weight's gonna be up. I was just eating throughout the whole night and then I only slept for 4 hours. My weight's gonna be up. But I think that's why it's really important to communicate, especially as a night shifter, with your coach about what your schedule is. And that way they know like this isn't a true spike. This is just what happens. You know what I mean? So the weight makes sense. And then obviously the sequential weigh-ins are gonna be normal and they're gonna be accurate. I did get a question about like what my workouts are gonna look like in off season. And right now I'm still on the same workout split that I was on during prep through my reverse. But once we get into the like growing portion, we may change things. It just kind of depends on the look and we'll kind of reconvene about training at that point. I also got a question about energy levels post show. And it was really funny because the Sunday after the show was over and it was Soph's birthday and we were just kind of hanging out and stuff. And I was telling her, I'm like, I feel like I'm like already kind of getting back to myself. And she's like, no, dude, you're like joking and like laughing. And like, I can just like tell that like you're kind of coming back into yourself again. I have been sick, however, for the past like 5 days. So energy has been low. And I'll say like energy is still low, but it is much improved and it improved very quickly. So kind of take that with a grain of salt, right? You can't expect 20 weeks of fatigue to go away within a week. It's just not how it works, but you feel better very, very quickly. So there's that. I don't feel like it takes every ounce of energy in me to get up from my seat at work and do something or to even just talk to people. So that is something. It's coming back slowly but surely. As far as budgeting for shows and the cost of shows, I'm not gonna lie, y'all know competing is so expensive. And did I really budget? Not really. However, my biggest piece of advice is going to be buy your suit during the Black Friday sales that like ACB runs. That's what I did. And so I was able to save a lot of money on my suit and start buying things for show weekend very early on in prep, whether that's black sheets, the pajama set, if you're doing DIY pro tan, the slippers you want to wear, the jewelry you want. My biggest piece of advice is to just spread these expenses out through prep. That way you're not buying a bunch at once. And there's obviously ways around things. You can rent suits. If you have friends who compete, you can borrow their sheets, you can borrow their towels, borrow their jewelry. You can save money on hair and makeup by doing it yourself. Pro tan is not that expensive. There's ways that you can budget, and then like picking a show that you can drive to instead of having to fly, finding cheaper places to stay, right? Bodybuilding is a privilege, and if you do not have the money to compete, then don't compete, because you're going to want to be able to give it your all. And if financially you're just not in a place to, then I recommend just save up to compete, because you're gonna thank yourself for it. Oh my god, you guys, I think I got through all the questions. Hopefully I did. I guess there's a comment section. If not, y'all can let me know. I know this was definitely like a different kind of video, a sit down video. This is so unlike me. Y'all know I'm a vlogging girly. I love to just take you along, but I don't know, I kind of just started this channel and I just started with vlogs, and I never really like got a chance to introduce myself, give you guys a little bit of background on me, how I got started in all this. And so I felt like this would be a really good way to kind of give you guys a little bit of background, and also just kind of like bring you up to speed as to like where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going. And we are just so excited for this growing season. It is going to be so good, you guys. I really feel like I learned so much from this prep, and I feel like that knowledge is going to help me do so much better in my off season than in my last off season. I gave 100% to my last off season. I do not regret anything I did. I don't think there's anything, more I could have given. However, I just have a different knowledge set now, and I'm so excited to apply that to a growing phase moving forward. But I guess that's gonna do it for us. Next video will be another vlog. I don't really know what the nature of the vlog is gonna be, but will definitely be a vlog. Never fear. Content's not stopping. The long videos are not stopping just because we're done with prep. The thing that sucks though is once you're done with prep, you kind of become irrelevant. So you guys may all say see ya and go hang with the next prep baddie. And you know what? They deserve to be supported and loved the way that I was supported and loved in my prep. And so I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting me, for all of the love, for all of the hype during this prep. I cannot say thank you enough. This community has been amazing, and I'm endlessly thankful for you guys. But if you want to stay up with me on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on TikTok. They are both at Emily Lifts with 2 Y's. Pretty active on those, especially my IG story. I love my IG story. If you want to see me on a daily basis, you can pop over there. Like, comment if you have any further questions. Subscribe so you don't miss the future vlogs. And maybe go back and watch some of the prep vlogs if you missed them, because there's a decent little library that we've built up. But I'm excited for the future. Excited to keep making content for you guys, and excited to grow, most importantly. So thanks so much for listening to my ratchet ass voice for however long this video is, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. I love you so very much, and until the next one, bye.